Listen to a conversation between a student and a professor.
Hey, Ellen, how are you doing?
Oh, pretty good, thanks. How are you?
Okay.
Did you have a chance to look at my grad school application? You know, the statement of purpose I wrote?
Well, yeah, in fact, here it is. I just read it.
Oh, great. What did you think?
Basically, it's good. What you might actually do is take some of these different points here and actually break them out into separate paragraphs. So, 1, your purpose for applying for graduate study. Why do you want to go to graduate school and an area of specialty, and why you want to do the area you're specifying, and what you want to do with your degree once you get it.
Okay.
So they're pretty clear on those 4 points they want.
Right.
So you might just break them out into, separate paragraphs and expand on each point some. But really what's critical with these is that you've got to let yourself come through. See, you got to let them see you in these statements. Expand some more on what's happened in your own life and what shows your motivation and interest in this area, in geology. Let them see what captures your imagination about this field.
Okay, so make it a little more personal. That's okay?
That's fine. They look for that stuff. You don't want to go overboard.
Right.
But it's critical that somebody sees what your passion is, your personal motivation for doing this.
Okay.
And that's got to come out in here. And let's see, you might also give a little, since this is your only chance to do it, you might give a little more explanation about your unique undergraduate background. So, how you went through, the music program, what you got from that. Why you decided to change. I mean, it's kind of unusual to go from music to geology, right?
Yeah, I was afraid that, maybe the personal type stuff wouldn't be what they wanted, but...
No, in fact, it's... give an example. I had a friend when I was an undergrad, went to medical school, and he put on his med school application, and he could actually tell if somebody actually read it, because he had asthma, and the reason that he wanted to go to med school was... He said he wanted to do sports medicine because he had this real interest. He was an athlete too and wanted to help athletes who had this physical problem. And he could always tell if somebody actually read his letter because they would always ask him about that.
So something unique.
Yeah. So see, that's what's good. And I think for you probably, your music background's the most unique thing that you've got in your record.
Right.
So you see, you got to make yourself stand out from a couple of hundred applications. Does that help any?
Yeah, it does. It gives me some good ideas.
And what you might also do, too, is, you might get a friend to proof it or something at some point.
Oh, sure.
Also, think about presentation, how the application looks. In a way, you're actually showing some other skills here, like organization. A lot of stuff that they're not formally asking for, they're looking at. So your presentation format, your grammar, all that stuff, they're looking at in your materials at the same time.
Right. Okay.
Why does the student go to see the professor? According to the professor, what information should the student include in her statement of purpose? Listen to part of a talk in an environmental science class.
So I wanted to discuss a few other terms here. Actually, some ideas about how we manage our resources. Let's talk about what that means. If we take a resource like water, well, maybe we should get a little bit more specific here, back up from the more general case, and talk about underground water in particular. So hydrogeologists have tried to figure out how much water can you take out from underground sources. This has been an important question. Let me ask you guys, how much water, based on what you know so far, could you take out of, say, an aquifer under the city?
As much as would get recharged?
Okay. So we wouldn't want to take out any more than naturally comes into it. The implication is that, if you only take as much out as comes in, you're not going to deplete the amount of water that's stored in there, right? Wrong. But that's the principle. That's the idea behind how we manage our water supplies. It's called safe yield. Basically, what this method says is that you can pump as much water out of a system as naturally recharges, as naturally flows back in. So this principle of safe yield, it's based on balancing what we take out with what gets recharged. But what it does is it ignores how much water naturally comes out of the system. In a natural system, a certain amount of recharge comes in, and a certain amount of water naturally flows out through springs, streams, and lakes. And over the long term, the amount that's stored in the aquifer doesn't really change much. It's balanced. Now humans come in and start taking water out of the system. How have we changed the equation?
It's not balanced anymore?
Right. We take water out, but water also naturally flows out. And the recharge rate doesn't change. So the result is we've reduced the amount of water that's stored in the underground system. If you keep doing that long enough, if you pump as much water out as naturally comes in, gradually the underground water levels drop. And when that happens, that can affect surface water. How? Well, in underground systems, there are natural discharge points, places where the water flows out of the underground systems, out to lakes and streams. Well, a drop in the water level can mean those discharge points will eventually dry up. That means water's not getting to lakes and streams that depend on it. So we've ended up reducing the surface water supply, too. You know, in the state of Arizona, we're managing some major water supplies with this principle of safe yield, under a method that will eventually dry up the natural discharge points of those aquifer systems. Now, why is this an issue? Well, aren't some of you going to want to live in this state for a while? Want your kids to grow up here and your kids' kids? You might be concerned with, does Arizona have a water supply which is sustainable? Key word here. What that means, the general definition of sustainable is, will there be enough to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future to have the availability to have the same resources? Now, I hope you see that these two ideas are incompatible, sustainability and safe yield, because what sustainability means is that it's sustainable for all systems dependent on the water, for the people that use it, and for supplying water to the dependent lakes and streams. So I'm going to repeat this. So if we're using a safe yield method, if we're only balancing what we take out with what gets recharged, but don't forget, water is also flowing out naturally, then the amount stored underground is going to gradually get reduced, and that's going to lead to another problem. These discharge points, where the water flows out to the lakes and streams, they're going to dry up. Okay.
What is the talk mainly about? What is the professor's point of view concerning the method of safe yield? According to the professor, what are two problems associated with removing water from an underground system?